Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was The Nightmare Before Christmas, making $4.2 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $81 million and a worldwide total of $95 million. So this movie was re-released this year not only because it's spooky season, but also to commemorate its 30th anniversary, believe it or not. And a lot of people decided to commemorate this milestone in the film's legacy, as obviously it was able to make enough to crack into the top 5, which was a nice little surprise. I knew it was coming out, but I didn't expect it to crack the top 5 given how the Hocus Pocus re-release went. But hey, this movie was able to crack the top 5, which I'm always down for, to seeing these re-releases do so. It shows the legacy and the impact the movie had on a lot of people, that a lot more of them now are going to go and see it again in the theaters, which is always delightful to see. So yeah, since it's a re-release, obviously I don't have a whole lot else to say about this movie since, well, the movie came out 30 years ago. It's not like this is going to affect its legacy or impact in any way. But yeah, nice to see it in the top 5 once again, since I do remember that this movie was re-released back in 2020 when they were trying to figure out ways to get people back to the movie theaters, and this movie was able to crack the top 5 back then, and it was able to crack the top 5 now, which again is a neat little tidbit. So yeah, nice to see this re-release crack the top 5. Number 4 was Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie, making $4.4 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $56 million and a worldwide total of $148 million. So the film has now officially surpassed the $50 million milestone, which is fantastic to see, and it's on its way to surpass the $60 million milestone domestically as well, which would put it over the doubling point domestically. I think $70 million is at play here. I think that's where it'll probably end up being. Don't think it's going to get to $100 million. It just doesn't seem like it's going to leg out to that degree, but this is still a pretty solid total domestically overall. Again, it was able to get ahead of the first film's $40 million domestic total back in 2021, so that's impressive to see. And speaking of the previous film, this movie is about to surpass that film's worldwide total of $151 million very soon, which is also a great sign to see. Not only is this movie doing better than the first film domestically, but now it's doing better than it worldwide, which again is definitely something you want to see for an animated sequel. And despite the fact that I do think we're gonna be headed towards the period where it starts to slow down, I still think it's gonna hold very well throughout the coming weeks, because again, no other kids movies out right now until Trolls, so it still has another month all to itself. But still, despite that, I do think this movie is going to start slowing down soon, as since it's a movie about the Paw Patrol, it doesn't have that wide appeal that I think a lot of the other animated films have. This is definitely something for younger children and diehard fans of the show, so there is that asterisk right there. But still though, even with that, once again, the movie has just done so well for itself. It's still going to continue holding well. Given the strong word of mouth from families and, once again, lack of competition, it easily stands out from a lot of the other movies in theaters right now. So yeah, still Paw Patrol doing pretty well for itself. Not much more else to say here. Number 3 was The Exorcist Believer, making $5.6 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $54 million and a worldwide total of $107 million. So starting with the positive things, domestically it's about to surpass the $60 million milestone, which is good. It'll be able to double its $30 million budget domestically. And it did surpass the $100 million milestone worldwide, and it's on its way to quadrupling its $30 million budget worldwide, which is fantastic. But the thing is here, folks, is that this movie, I still think, is falling below where they wanted it to be. They so clearly wanted this to be the big horror movie of the month. They wanted this to catch on like Megan and Scream 6, hell, maybe even The Nun 2. But unfortunately, it's just not doing that. Audiences aren't rushing out to see this like they did with those other movies. The word of mouth just isn't the best here, despite some better than expected holds. And once again, it isn't doing terribly. Again, it's about to quadruple that $30 million budget. But yeah, it's still, this is definitely not where they wanted it to be. The fact that it isn't one of the bigger horror movies of the year is rather upsetting, I'm sure, for the studio. And given the fact that, October's about to end, Halloween is literally a week away, and the fact that this week we have another horror movie, a pretty anticipated one, I do want to add, but more on that later. But in regards to how that affects this movie, I think it will affect it greatly, given how the hype is just so much bigger on that movie than it is on this movie. So yeah, still a mixed bag for The Exorcist. It isn't doing terribly. Again, quadrupling that $30 million budget is still very good, but I'm sure they were hoping and expecting much, much more for this movie. Number 2 was Killers of the Flower Moon, opening with $23 million domestically and $44 million worldwide. This is Martin Scorsese's third biggest opening weekend of all time, topping The Wolf of Wall Street and Hugo, but still sitting behind The Departed and Shutter Island. So this is an interesting opening for me to discuss, because if you just judge it based off of the budget itself, and you need to see like how it's gonna leg out, how it's gonna do well. Yeah, this is not a good opening, of course. This is a $200 million movie opening with $23 million. That doesn't put it in a good place, sure. But considering the fact that this is like the first time Apple TV Plus released a movie in theaters as a part of a new distribution deal with several studios, with the intentions of not really making that budget back, just to like boost subscribers for their own streaming service, I'd say this is a pretty solid start to this new release method they're doing. Yeah, it could have opened better. Yeah, you still need to worry about its legs and how it's going to do in the coming weeks. But, since this is the first time one of these streaming services is doing something like this, I'd still say this is a pretty good start to that. We'll see if this trend continues upward with their next movie, Napoleon, hitting theaters this Thanksgiving. But back to this movie, yeah, I saw a lot of things working for it. Again, Martin Scorsese and the all-star cast. The buzz on this was strong, especially the awards buzz. And with how successful Oppenheimer did, I think this is going to start a trend of reviving the adult drama that we didn't really get a lot like 5 or 6 years ago. Now with this doing, hopefully it's gonna do very well. Audiences do seem to like this. This is one of Martin Scorsese's better received films on CinemaScore. It got an A- cinema score, which is pretty good. We'll see how it legs out. We'll see if audiences rush out to see it. I do think it's going to stand out from the crowd, given, the length, of course, and the fact that it is an adult skewering drama. So I think the messages and themes of the film are probably going to resonate with a lot of people, and word of mouth might benefit this. So yeah, interesting weekend for sure, but I'm leaning more towards positive, since this is like the first time Apple TV Plus is doing something like this. I think this is a pretty solid start. Hopefully this continues to go upward with, again, like Napoleon. But as far as this movie goes, given the type of movie it is, given how long it is, the fact that this was able to crack 20 million is rather impressive. We'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, I'd say this is a pretty decent start. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was once again Taylor Swift: The Eras Tour, making $33 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $131 million and a worldwide total of $178 million. So yes, it does appear that this movie was very front-loaded on its opening. It had a 64% drop-off this weekend, which for any movie in its second weekend is not the best hold. Definitely you don't want to see something like that, especially when you had a pretty big opening on your first weekend. But when you put in the factors that this is a concert film and it's one about Taylor Swift, this is still a pretty solid number to be at. The fact that I was able to get over $30 million in its second weekend is quite impressive, whether that be from the diehard Taylor Swift fans going to see this again, or maybe even some casual moviegoers who wanted to give this movie a shot after all the praise it got from the Swifties on its first weekend. The fact that this concert movie, which by the way only costed $15 million to make, is almost about to surpass 200 million worldwide is insane to see. This is definitely still a very solid number to be at. We'll see where it continues to go. We'll see if its legs keep on dropping or if it can pick itself back up from its rut. But yeah, still overall, I think it's safe to say that Taylor Swift is in a pretty good spot right now. This is still a fantastic number to be at. It's definitely going to continue growing, even if it continues to get hurt by not the best legs. So yeah, despite a pretty significant drop this weekend, this is still a pretty solid number to be at. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have one new major wide release, that film being Five Nights at Freddy's. This is the long-awaited feature-length film adaptation of the beloved horror game, and when I say long-awaited, I really mean that. I've been hearing rumors and speculations about this movie coming out since middle school. It has been that long in development, folks, and the film is finally here. It's finally coming out, and I'm going to be honest, I think we're going to see a very big opening here. The video games are so popular and beloved. There are so many theories and all these types of forums and videos, music videos, animation. It has a big fan base online. Pretty much everyone knows about this franchise, and given the fact that it is so massive and it is so popular, I think that's going to help it out. The marketing has been fantastic for this movie as well. Been seeing lots and lots of promotion for this. The buzz is also very strong. A lot of people are really excited to see this, and with it being October, this being the last horror film of the month, not even just that, the last major movie of the month, I think that's going to help it out. I think this movie is going to do very well leading up to Halloween, and overall, I have very high expectations. The one addendum, the one thing that could hurt this movie is for some reason they are doing a hybrid release for this movie. It's going to be released in theaters and on Peacock the same day, which in my opinion is just really stupid. So there is still going to be a portion of people who are going to choose to go watch this movie at home on Peacock rather than the theater. And while I don't think it's going to be a big proportion of this movie's audience, it's still going to affect this movie in some way, shape, or form. But other than that, I have very high expectations for this movie. I think we're going to see a very big opening here. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied? Unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.